Hey, howdy, hey, y'all. This is Jeff Kohler, the Option Addict from www.optionaddict.net. And I just got done watching the Super Bowl and gotta say, tip my hat to the New York Giants. What a wonderful performance that was. Not a fan of the New York Giants per se, but I'm definitely a fan of karma and not a fan of the New England Patriots. So nice to see them leave that sacred undefeated record alone. Anyway, so I'm sitting here staring at a chart of the S&P 500. I'm sitting here deliberating what's going to happen next week. And I got to say, my opinion remains the same. I'm still bearish on the market. I don't know if that's ever going to change anytime soon. But what I'm watching here is obviously the S&P 500 approach that psychological level of 1400. Okay, so that level that once was support for the S&P 500, thinking it might act as resistance. I don't think that's too far-fetched of a thought here, but it seems natural. We're coming off of one of the best weeks we've seen in over about 2 years, I believe, is what I heard. So I'm looking for the market to sell off a little bit, maybe pull back. Now, I think this is going to be a week where a lot of trends get sorted out. And what I mean is I talked earlier last week about leaving some of the real estate stocks, retail stocks, financial stocks, leaving those alone because those trends are obviously played out. And those trends, we're seeing some changes where we're actually even seeing some potential reversals. So I wouldn't play with the trend of those groups any longer. I would probably, if I were going to be a gambler here, I'd probably bet against them and maybe go into some reversals. So maybe getting bullish on some retail stocks, real estate stocks, maybe even some finance stocks and banks. I know it is what it is. I'm seeing those trends starting to change. So, and I'm looking at the market sitting here at potential resistance. So I think this is going to be an interesting week where a lot of trends start to change. Obviously I talked about this last week, but, real estate stocks, retail stocks, financial stocks, obviously those trends are starting to change a little bit. And I mentioned trading trend reversals earlier in the week, being a little more aggressive and getting bearish on uptrending stocks that are starting to break down or bullish on downtrending stocks that are starting to break to the upside. I still like that philosophy heading into this week, as opposed to playing some of the played out trends that are really starting to shift and change here a little bit. So keep that in mind heading in this week. There's no bone-crushing economic news that's coming out, but we still are in the middle of earnings season, so make sure you're watching out for that. If your stocks are going to announce earnings, make sure you're properly positioned heading into that news. Anyway, I'm going to start off with a few price patterns this week. Some of the things you're going to see in most stocks are going to be the inverse head and shoulders. Obviously, that pattern is just out there. And double bottoms. That's what I'm seeing for the most part. And I've only handpicked a few of those here this week. We're going to start with Goldman as the old inverse head and shoulder. You can see I've already got it marked up here. Two shoulders here at about the 190 level, one head at about 175, breaking to the upside. So as a leading indicator for some of these finance stocks, I don't know. I'd be looking at maybe selling some out of the money spreads here, taking advantage of volatility and also some short-term upside price movement. Next, I'm going to go to C-Trip, CTRP, and I've got this marked as kind of a double bottom. You can see it's approaching its resistance level. In fact, if I go to a line chart here, it's going to be a lot more obvious. Right in about the $49, $50 range, right through here is where you're going to want to watch. When the stock breaks to the upside there, you might want to get a little bit aggressive and start buying some calls. Next, we're going to look at Monster, ticker symbol MNST. I mentioned this last week as a possible reversal, but you can see now it's coming to fruition. It's breaking out of resistance. And keep in mind, as the job market continues to weaken, a stock like Monster is obviously going to benefit from that. More people that are unemployed are going to be on their website looking for jobs. So the stock's breaking out. You see tremendous volume behind that break. So watch for the stock to reverse to the tune of about 5 points or so. Also, Guess, ticker symbol GES. Hasn't broken out yet, but we're watching here. I've got it marked right at about $37.5, $38 per share. A break there with some volume could indicate a potential reversal here. A very common pattern going on in retail stocks right now. And I also want to point out WFR. I like this setup here because it's not too far off of its highs. But this could also be the making of a longer term head and shoulders pattern you can see all the way through here. But if it breaks to the upside here, watch for it to get about a 15-point move to the upside, which would take it pretty close to its prior highs. Now ARTC, bear flag. I like this pattern. You can see it starts to break to the downside at about 47.5, taking it down to nearly 37.5. So a possible 10-point move once it breaks out of this sideways consolidation. If you haven't traded a bear flag before, don't sweat it. I wrote something about this earlier in the week. Make sure you check back about 4 or 5 days ago. You'll see an article there on how to trade those. And last but not least, CLF. on the dawn of a breakout here. You can see it trading right at resistance. Watch for a breakout here. If it does, make sure you're using this old resistance as new support, setting your stops beneath that and giving the stock at least 3 months worth of time if you're going to be buying some call options here. Now, aside from patterns, I'm going to look at some bullish ideas. We know coal stocks are in fuego right now, and I expect that to continue in the short term, very, very short term. So CNX was one that we've been using to take advantage of that. Also, WLT was one that we talked about a little while ago, bought the dip here, and it's performing really well. Or you can watch stocks like Alpha, which is ANR. Move my cursor here a little bit. Or FCL. And some of these stocks that are just breaking out makes it easier to manage your trades because you can use old resistance as new support to help manage your risk. Also, XNPT. Brought this up on a chart last week, but I like to buy the dip philosophy here, and it's reacted pretty positively to that so far. It's not too late. Based on where support is, I think you still got a buck or so to the downside here, and the stock still has higher highs on the horizon, at least in my opinion. So keep an eye on that. HUM, I've been bullish on this forever, and that's not changing. It's pretty close to support here at 80, trading at 81.84, so about $2 risk to get to its prior highs. I think it's a good risk reward. Baxter, same thing. You can see it dipping off of support here in this upward trend. Looks pretty good. CREE, a young trend. You can see using some of its prior highs as new lows. Looking forward to get back up to its highs here at about 34. So we'll watch that. CPHD has been pretty immune to this market climate, and it's also right at support. So I think you got to know about that, and I think there's a good trade opportunity here. Also, ILMN, we've been talking about this for quite a while, but I mentioned to watch this old resistance level as new support. As of Friday, it reacted pretty good off of that level. Now, it might be a little too far away for your liking here, but I think this stock continues to make higher highs. Last but not least, the last dip you got to buy here is in gold, GLD. You can see it's just off of this nice trend line. My target price is still $1,000 an ounce or $100 per share here, which gives us about a 10% move in this stock, so I like it. A couple other breakouts I want you to keep an eye on. One I am anticipating is PDGI, and the reason I am is because there's support right here to catch me if I fall. If not, getting in early means I'm going to catch a pretty nice price move. You can see volume already starting to back up this price move, so I'm taking this here. CLHB, I might have to go to a longer term chart here. In fact, if I go to a 2-year and I go to a line chart, you can see just how sweet this is. This is a pretty big move for the stock. So there's some good price movements yet to be seen. Also, DBA, I'm bullish on commodities. Again, it's commodities, not commodity companies, and DBA is obviously the pure play, backed by wheat, soy, corn, so on and so forth. So make sure you know about that. And also on that list is Apollo, APOL, trading right at resistance in about a 10-point channel, which means over time we might see about a 10-point move to the upside. Some stocks I'm looking to short this week: ESRX, a young trend reversal. What was higher highs and higher lows has now made lower highs and lower lows, using old support as new resistance. I love that action here. RDC, you can see the same thing. Old support acting as new resistance. Got to take advantage of that. PCU, which is kind of the controversial trade here, but I like the $100 mark here as psychological resistance. So I'm watching that. I want to see the price action on Monday. If we start to slip to the downside, thinking about taking some puts here. VLO, you might want to look at this at a longer term chart, but this level of support here I'm hoping acts as pretty good resistance. The refiner's not performing as hot lately, so we'll see how that holds up. ATI, a little bit of strength and obviously a weak trend. I'm looking to get bearish on this as well. And XL, really good support level, trading up at that level as resistance. I'm thinking it still has some room to turn to the downside, so we'll see how that holds up. So just to reiterate, folks, I think it's going to be kind of an interesting week. A lot of stocks going through some changes as far as their trends are concerned, so watch out for these reversals, these existing trends breaking in opposite directions, etc. Not a whole lot of economic data coming out this week, but plenty of earnings announcements, so make sure you're aware of them. In the meantime, there's going to be plenty of opportunities, and as always, on the blog, we'll be talking about them. So take care this week. This has been Jeff Kohler, the Option Addict. That's been my watch list. Thanks for watching.
I have people skills. I am good at dealing with people. Can't you understand that? What the hell is wrong with you people?